Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, it is day 25 of RPG A Day 2018, and our question or prompt for today is name a game that has had an impact on you in the last year. And so when I first saw this question, I thought to myself, well, this is going to be a little bit tough, just choosing one game, because in the past year alone, I've read a bunch of games, I've played quite a few, and a lot of them have had an impact of one sort or another. This year, like the couple of years before, has been a year of like discovery and enlightenment. And I found out over and over again that the role-playing game hobby has taught me a lot about myself, as well as the complexity and diversity of human nature. But this video isn't about that. So let's get back to that. What game has had an impact on me? And like I said, I thought about it for a while, and one game kept on showing up, and I finally decided, yeah, this is actually the game I'm going to talk about as having had an impact on me this year. That's Hollow Earth Expedition, by Jeff Combos, Exile Game Studios. I think the game might be 10 years old by now. It's the game that's powered by Ubiquity. It's the first game that used the Ubiquity game system that's gone on to power quite a few other games that he's licensed it to. This game, as I played it this past year, and I've certainly had experience with it, at least in the year previous, every time I've played this game, it has been consistently enjoyable and satisfying. It's a game that probably is among the most reliable in producing an experience, and that's been had quite an impact on me. It's if you're not aware of what the game is, just think Indiana Jones, Nazis, dinosaurs, and pretty much the game can range in terms of like how you play it to being fairly mundane, 1936, pre-World War II, to quite a bit of supernatural. Of course, it's Hollow Earth, for crying out loud. And the ratio is kind of up to you, as a group. Like, how do we want to play this, or do we want to gradually go into the Hollow Earth? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But if you can't keep that kind of Indiana Jones vibe in your head, you're not going to go very wrong. One of the things I've learned, in the last few years especially, is that I am woefully unread, unexposed. I'm not sure what the right word is, but there's various genres that I just have not had enough exposure to. I've had a little bit of exposure, but not a ton. And just because I, read certain kinds of books and was into certain kinds of media as I was growing up, and it was more fantasy and science fiction. So pulp is something that, like, every time I watch something or read something that's identified as pulp, and I know that's a really big umbrella genre, I've always enjoyed it. So there's a whole bunch of books and movies and whatnot that are on my to-watch list, to read list, when I find some free time, which does not grow on trees these days. But I really like pulp. However, one of the neat things about Hollow Earth Expedition is, the game has flavor text. It tells you what it's going to be about. We all kind of know the tropes. I mean, the pulp tropes are pretty obvious. And the cool thing about the Ubiquity game system that's in Hollow Earth is that it does this really great job of kind of reinforcing and co-creating that genre. It helps you. It helps produce what the flavor text of the game suggests the game is going to be about. The system helps bring to life, and that ranges from the way characters are created, how they actually show up, with their motivations and their flaws and their strengths and the various skills and the talents, to how the game actually reinforces, playing. Doing something cool, playing up to your motivation and your flaw. The whole way the system works really helps to co-create and reinforce that feel. So one of the impacts this game's had on me is just when a system really matches up with a genre, when a game is coherent, that's a really cool thing. And just the reliability of the experience for me has been one of those indicators that this game is really doing that. So that I really. I kept on thinking to myself, man, this is really cool every time we play it. And it does require a little bit of effort on the part of the game masters and players, but really all that you need to do is keep the genre in mind. And it's not that hard. As a game master, you need to give players or their characters about as much respite as Indiana Jones ever got, or think of some other pulpy type movies like Sky Captain and The World Tomorrow, or even the Jack Black King Kong movie. That same kind of like a little bit of rest and then boom, right back into the action. As a player, you have to be willing to go to kind of absurd lengths to play up take risks, play up the strengths of your character, also like play up to their flaws and their weaknesses. And if you do that, the system will help push you the rest of the way and create that kind of feel, which once again, that really had a big impact on me. So, it's not a game that's the most super heroic ever. It's kind of this middle, middle of the road RPG in terms of the pulp heroic feel. The characters are human, but they're not really fragile either. It's kind of a Goldilocks zone RPG for me in terms of, where it lives, which has another impact on me. I've discovered as I've played more and more games that there are certain feels that I keep on gravitating towards, and it's not just one. I mean, I like games sometimes that are more serious and full of a little bit more gravitas or more character moments and all that sort of stuff. But I like other games where it is a little bit fast and loose and wild. And Hollow Earth certainly produces that latter feel, although that's not to say that you can't have some really cool character interactions, and we've been having those in a lot of our games. If you allow me to digress a little bit, the characters in all of the Hollow Earth games I've been in, all of my characters, all of the characters the other players have brought to the table, whether they're we're playing together or whether I'm on the other side of the metaphorical screen and being a game master, they have all been really compelling right out of the gate. And I think character creation and how they actually come to life plays a huge part in that. And once again, the characters end up feeling right at character creation onward like pulp characters. So it just, once again, the game really reinforces that. But as I was saying, I've discovered more about what I like. The places when I play a role-playing game that feel like home. And once again, I felt that like Hollow Earth is one of those genres and games in particular where it starts to feel like home. So that's been another impact this game has had on me. Is it's been one of those places where I realized I really like this experience. And it's not like I'm a big buff on 1936. I have to look stuff up all the time. I disagree with some of my friends about the Ubiquity role-playing system in terms of, like, I don't want to see it produced as a generic system, but the idea that you could yank that system and play it in a different decade, as long as you understand that it's going to produce that feel. And if you're okay with that pulp heroic feel, I'm kind of interested in the idea of playing it different decade. Let's play it in the 60s. But I digress. That's not really about that. The final impact I've had with from this game is just realizing that if I am that enamored with a game that just produces the feel that it says it's going to, if it's this coherent design, where the genre and the system match up. And I also have found areas that feel like home to me. While I'm hopeful that my friends will like that experience as well and want to play Hollow Earth Expedition with me, it also makes me open to trying their favorites, which produce a different kind of feel or genre via the system as well, because I really enjoy that when a game is able to do that. So, 3 impacts for the price of 1. How about that? And I'll see you tomorrow, kids.